Ja, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to see so many of you taking the time to listen to my presentation this afternoon. I would like to discuss saving materials, using Recyclates, and promoting recyclability. My name is August Wanninger. I'm the CSIO, the Chief Sustainability and Innovation of the LINHARDT Group. Let me tell you a little more about myself. I've been working in the packaging industry for more than 30 years now. I worked many of those years in sales, and with the LINHARDT Group, I'm now responsible for sustainability and innovation. Let me tell you a little more about the LINHARDT company. We are a typical German mid-sized company, though a little on the large side, but we have 80 years of tradition, but we still are a family business, and we act as a family business, and we also get that family idea across in our day-to-day business. So we take care of our employees, so we have corporate health management, we offer prevention courses, yoga courses. We offer flexible shift models wherever possible in order to offer our staff the opportunity to work with us independent of their individual situation in life. We have a high training rate, continuous training and further training courses for our employees. And we also like celebrating too, because everyone who works needs to celebrate too. Let me give you some of the facts and figures about the LINHARDT Group. We are a manufacturer of primary packaging materials from aluminum and plastics. We use extrusion as a manufacturing process, and we produce approximately 1.1 billion packaging products. So our key product is an aluminum tube, approximately 650 million a year, but also plastic tubes, approximately 200 million, aerosol cans, 150 million, and other types of bottles, cans, etc., like little bottles for spirits, energy drinks, etc. And different, for example, cigar tubes or little cans with a screw on top, markers. You all know the edding pens. We produce that at our company too. So our sales, we have a strong focus on Europe. So most of our sales come from Europe. 80 to 90% approximately is from Europe, and we focus on Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. But of course, I would also like to let you know that we're also active in North America and also are set to further expand our business in that region. Our production sites are all in Germany at the moment. We have 3 major locations in Germany: Fichtach, where our headquarters are in the Bavarian forest. We also have a plant in Saxony and another plant in Hambrücken, which is in the Karlsruhe region. The Linden site is solely responsible for technology transfer and for tool production. So the tool and the technologies developed by our company are all developed in-house by LINHARDT itself. So speaking of sustainability, our vision is that LINHARDT develops, manufactures, and distributes packaging for a better present and future. So this is our key driver. So looking at sustainability at a corporate level, I'm later going to discuss about the product level and about real-world examples, but let me stick with the corporate level for a minute. So in the field of sustainability, there are 5 fields of action that were identified as key drivers of our activity: customer relations and products, next, environment and energy, employees and society, suppliers, materials and technology, and sustainability, holistic management. Let me give you some examples from each of those fields. We'd like to continuously improve our customer relations. In the field of energy, our aim is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we've set clear targets for that. We want to increase employee satisfaction as far as possible. And we would like to drive innovation together with our partners, not just with our clients, but also with our suppliers. And hopefully, all that will lead to sustainable success in the market, which will allow us to actually bring forward our company and actually secure the existence of our company on a sustainable level. So what are our challenges? We're a manufacturer of scent articles because packaging is a scent article in a high-wage location, which is Germany. And sustainable approaches as such will first and foremost cost more money. They're more expensive, they require more effort. For example, because cycle speeds are lower, or to give just one example, for example, if you use new varnish systems, it may happen that our nozzles get clogged or that the material costs as such are higher. But if we truly want to be sustainable, we have to take exactly that path, the path of innovation, which at first will cost more money, but we cannot bear those costs ourselves. Everyone has to take a share in that, the supplier, the client, just like the manufacturer, to be able to produce at scale at some point, at industrial scale, and to be able to achieve prices that are more affordable for each and every one of us. So which products are we talking about? Let me talk about plastic tubes for a second. What you can see here is a wide range of plastic tubes produced by our company. So these are the tubes that we've developed during the last 3 to 4 years. We started out with PCR plastic tubes with post-consumer recycled materials, followed by lightweight tubes, which means that we try to reduce the weight of our tubes as far as possible. Also monomaterial tubes in order to increase recyclability. Top tubes, I'm going to discuss them later. I'm going to explain that name a little more later on. And we also have tubes with a metal batch. So we developed the metallic master batch, or also tubes with metal ink. So these tubes, for example, offer higher recyclability compared to laminate tubes with aluminum barriers. But in terms of look and feel, they're very similar, but offer way better recyclability. That has been confirmed several times. And last but not least, the transparent PCR tube, a tube from recycled material, but is still transparent and can be printed. So for various different products, we received awards, for example, from the European Association of Tube Manufacturers, the Tube of the Year, or from the German Packaging Institute, the German Packaging Award. In addition, we have a LINHARDT sustainability guide for plastic tubes that we developed at our company in order to offer our clients like a Bible, a strategy of how to develop or create their tubes in order to make it as recyclable as possible, or rather, to make the tube as sustainable as possible. Our top priority is and has been saving materials, because the most sustainable material is a material that I don't use. This has resulted in our company successively trying to reduce wall and shoulder strength of our tubes, and I'm going to explain it in some greater detail later on. Secondly, what we did was we took normal virgin material and tried to replace it by PCR materials, recycled materials. So step by step, we tried to increase the amount of the overall tube of PCRs and the amount of the overall tube, and theoretically at least, we've reached 100% nowadays. And the third aspect was increasing recyclability. As I told you a minute ago, we developed a guide for our clients, but still, in our everyday business, we always have to explain what's good or what's bad for recyclability. For example, hot foil embossing is not very good. What's good is bright colors, if possible, no full prints, things like these, you know? These are the kind of examples that we use to explain to our clients, yes, this is the path that you have to take. And the marketing department often doesn't like the fact that we have to tell them they can't do anything they want to do. But this is some two poles that we need to reconcile in order to be able to develop a great recyclable tube. Let me discuss the PCR tube. I told you about that earlier, and I told you that, generally speaking, from a technological point of view, we can actually offer a 100% PCR tube right now, but most possibly nobody will want it. That's because it's very rigid, very stiff. It has 100% PCR content, and you can also the feel of the tube. You feel inclusions of the Recyclate in the material. And this is something you definitely want to avoid. What you need to try and do is try and find a good mix that will actually accommodate for both needs. When you say 100% PCR, you should always be a little careful about that. With regard to the new claim directive, you can't say 100%. That's a no-go. Because, for example, if you color a white master batch, it's not 100% PCR. Maybe 96%, maybe. Here, in the picture up on the slide, 94%, because 6% master batch here. With the PCR tubes, still, we can use EVOH barriers, and you can have them transparent, white, pearl effect. You can reduce wall thickness, that's very important, but you need the right recyclate with small granule sizes in order to be able to reduce the amount of inclusions or to be able to hide them better in the tube shoulder, for example. HD printing and other printing techniques are all available. You can use fully recyclable monomaterial, and generally speaking, you can feed it into the general recycling stream here in Europe. So what is the result of that? The result is a reduction of the CO2 emissions by using recyclates. So, tubes with reduced wall thickness. We started with 400 micrometers and successfully reduced that down to 0.4, 0.35. Now, 0.3 is a standard. 0.27 is right around the corner. We're almost there. EVOH barriers, that's possible too. We try to reduce that as far as possible, and with new EVOH generations, we can successfully cut the EVOH barrier thickness in half while still offering the same performance. Like the barrier properties are the same, but we only use 50% of the EVOH barrier thickness. This means that compared to the original tubes that we offered like 3 or 4 years ago, we now have a tube that uses 40% less material in the walls. So 40% less CO2 emissions. So mono-PE tubes. This is a topic of recyclability because in the past, a PE tube had a PP lid, PP closure. Recently, we've started offering PE tubes with PE closures. We can do that. So for any diameter, we have a portfolio of caps and closures, also flip tops that will actually stand all tensile tests in PE, also in combination with the reduced wall thickness with the EVOH barrier. Again, available in transparent, white, or with pearl effect, like all the properties I mentioned earlier. What's very important is that you have a fully recyclable tube, a monomaterial tube. Only one polyolefin, PE, which in turn leads to higher recyclability. This brings me to our super tube. In 2022, we won the German Packaging Award with our super tube. Why is it called super tube? Because we try to integrate all the features that I just explained to you. So we reduced the wall thickness down to 300 mm. we use PCR in the tube. Technically, it will be feasible to have 100% of that. We have a lightweight PE closure, which means we have a mono PE tube and a weight-reduced closure, which has a 50% PCR content. Back when we won the award, now we're working towards offering 100% PCR in the closure, and also for flip-top closures. What you can see here is we tried to bring reduce, replace, recycle together in the super tube to actually meet all those requirements in one single tube. So let me introduce you to our latest baby, Top Tube. It's currently in the pipeline, it's currently under development. Top Tube, the name is because of the closure. It's about the tube top. It's a patented solution, and the closure is no longer a flip top and head plate, but only flip top and a ring. The ring is directly placed on the shoulder. So what is the result of that? It allows us to have a top with significantly reduced height and weight, and using two closure sizes, we can actually put a top on 4 different tube diameters. So we start with the 40 diameter for 40 and 50 diameter tubes, and as a second step we want a flip top for 30 and 35 diameter tubes. Why do we do that? We want a full product family, a full tube family, where you have one single lid. But some of you may say, oh, it looks pretty small, or it's not fully functional, it doesn't cover like the full diameter of the tube. Yes, but it's a visual signal to our end consumers. We did something about material savings. There's less material used in that flip top. So the top itself only weighs 2 grams. The shoulder was reduced in weight by approximately 15%, so if only using shoulder plus top compared to other low profile or shoulderless tubes, we can save up to 40% in material, and with regard to the overall tube, for a big 50 tube, for example, up to 20% of material compared to other comparable low-profile closure tubes. Compared to a conventional flip-top tube, we would save even way more. So we're currently working on the serial tool. I think we're going to be able to offer it in the 4th quarter of 2023 for the 40 and 50 diameter, and later we're also going to introduce the lids for the 30 and 35 diameter tubes. So we're continuing our way towards reducing material input. So let me move on from the tube closures to aluminum, which is a second area that we focus on. Again, here we try to reduce the amount of material used. We also use PCR. So our products include bottles, aerosol cans, tubes with aluminum closures, which again is monomaterial. It's currently under development too. So we have a 100% aluminum closure on a 100% aluminum tube, which significantly increases recyclability of the overall product. So we received several awards for our aluminum products. For example, the Aeroball Can Award of the Aerosol Can Manufacturer Association. Talking about PCR, the question is, which PCR do we use? What makes sense? What is honest? What can we truly use? Because often the approach is PCR only from the yellow bag waste collection here in Germany. Then ISO 14021, it says post-consumer recycled aluminum can also be derived from industrial scrap. The most important thing is that this is material that is at the end of its life cycle before the material gets destroyed. And this is the big difference compared to post-industrial recycled material. The second aspect, instead of using the yellow bag where you have different alloys and where the material, from our point of view, requires significant pyrolysis, high energy input for actually making the material suitable, we could use lithographic plates or cable wire, for example, because they offer a significant degree of purity, 99.1 to 99.4%, and you can see in the picture here, this picture was taken at our material suppliers. This is the heap of scrap, and this is how you put it in the melting furnace. So the scrap gets melted directly, and the molten material will then immediately be passed on to the plant where our materials are produced at. So this is a very useful aspect. We use high-quality scrap and reuse it, and we can seize the high purity of the material. What you can see here on the diagram is we use end-of-life scrap, for example, cable wire or lithographic plates. It's not directly fed into mechanical engineering, the transportation sector, or the construction sector. We do another loop. It's molten, it's turned into tubes, and it's then locally recycled. And as a second step, it will then be fed into the recycling cycles of mechanical engineering, transportation, and construction. So the aluminum we use is not lost for these other sectors. No, we add another loop in order to seize this high degree of purity that the material offers. And this is the key fact here. Talking about PCR materials, it's important to talk about supply chains too. Are these chains transparent and clean? Or do we have such a negative example, as you can see up here on the slide? We for ourselves can say we audited and certified our suppliers in accordance with ISO 22095 2020 chain of custody, which means that our suppliers and the previous suppliers are known to us. And the supply paths are very short, so we source scrap from a radius of maximum 750 kilometers from our plants. So we collected exactly where the scrap is actually produced, or we have like one scrap collector which will directly feed our plants. So we don't have a long chain. The scrap won't pass many hands before it reaches us. We know exactly where the scrap comes from. We wouldn't want to realize that someone says your scrap is from like some scrap heap where like little children have to collect it. We don't want that, and we audit it and certify that as to make sure that doesn't happen. Let me give you some facts instead of fables. Very often on the market, what you hear is, well, 92%, 95, 99% CO2 is saved. Well, we could also say we save 92% CO2. The question is, what is your baseline? Because, you know, our comparison here is our PCR with the virgin material that we would actually use. We don't use the industrial average. We could say theoretically virgin aluminum from China, for example. You have 20 tons of CO2 per ton of aluminum. No, we don't do that. Right now, our aluminum mix that we mainly source from Europe, but also from other continents, has approximately 13 tons of CO2 emissions per ton of aluminum. And the PCR that we purchase, because it's remelted and actually the molten material is directly turned into the material, only has approximately 1 ton of CO2 per ton of aluminum. So we did our own life cycle assessment process, cradle to gate, and we had that result validated by Hochschule München, by Professor de Kurt, in order to make absolutely sure that our calculations were correct. But what's more important to me personally? For me, it's important that we tell our clients, you won't save 50, 80, 90% CO2. This is the tons of CO2 that you can actually save. So how many tons of CO2 will you purchase along with your product? This is the only true statement, the only statement that has any relevance whatsoever, because at some point the purchase of CO2 will cost companies real money. Let me come back to our answer to the question that we asked ourselves at the very beginning of our development phase. Is recycled aluminum meaningful, honest, and responsible? And the use of alternative recycled sources leads to the greatest possible saving of tons of CO2 with transparent and short supply chains. That was our answer. And that's the reason why right now we're saying it was responsible, it makes sense, and it was useful to use that kind of PCR and to offer 100% of PCR, which we do. Now we offer our aluminum products with 100% PCR. Just very briefly, let me tell you a little more about our innovative products, for example, our bottle family here. So why did we do that? To substitute glass. Well, the question was, is the CO2 balance of aluminum better than glass? No. Virgin aluminum, no. But PCR aluminum, yes. And think ahead. Aluminum offers reduced wall thickness, so it requires less space and weight during transportation. So if you actually make that part of your calculations, your CO2 balance will definitely be better than the CO2 balance of glass bottles. So we try to find new glasses with standard threads, for example, GL18, PP28, or GCMI 24410 for standard lotion pumps or spray pumps. So let me show you all our aluminum products at a glance here. We can offer everything with 100% PCR. We're currently developing a 100% aluminum tube with an aluminum closure. And let me tell me a little more about the aerosol cans. We can offer 100% PCR plus 0.3% manganese, which makes the material even harder, which allows us to even further reduce the wall thickness, because an aerosol can is a pressurized can. And this will allow for a further reduction in weight, approximately 17%. With 150 millimeters. And last but not least, the mono aluminum tube, and we're actually producing that at scale, large scale right now with 100% PCR. In the future, when we're using an aluminum closure, recyclability will amount to more than 95%, and this will allow a significant reduction, a significant saving of CO2 emissions. So thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them right now or to visit us at our booth in Hall 4, CO8, and I'll be happy to take your questions there too. Thank you very much.